those who may have missed it earlier, Paul Charch laid it out quite eloquently because I hadn't really thought about it while greasing the wheels of a noisy bad dream. That is a 2-game losing streak. It's just a little baby 2-game losing streak, but man, the 5-0 sure felt a lot better than that 5-2. Mm-hmm. Yes, yours truly does recognize the level of competition was quite stiff, specifically with Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams. And you know what? It sometimes, frequently, tipping the cap to the adversary is fine. Now, like for those in the covenant, coaches and players and personnel people and stuff, they're just not really cool doing that. Tipping the cap to they'll do it, but maybe not effusively. And I'm not going to do it effusively either. However, I just got to give it up a little bit for McVay getting Kupp. And, I mean, it's seriously, and I'm never going to get confirmation he set it up like this. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But, I mean, it's like Nacua, his window for the 21-day return bid, it seriously opened like 5 minutes before he played. He hadn't practiced, very minimally. My man's running around there, 6'1", with the hair flowing in the Southern California breeze.
Right.
Summer breeze make him feel fine.
Yep.
And he looked fine. I mean, he was fine. But, McVay looked at this whole thing, and he's like, this one here against that guy? No, I ain't losing that one. So, and if we lose, we lose. But I'm going to go down with my very best of best ever to best. He ramped them up perfectly for that game. Quite honestly, I don't think Cooper Kupp was completely ready. I mean, he didn't play a ton. He was out for a long time.
Yep.
So therefore, I just got props for people who do things like that.
Well, I think McVay worked Schefter as well. So he did. So it's Thursday morning. And and we get word that Puka Nacua might play.
This is going to be good.
At like noon.
Yeah.
And then a couple hours later, Schefter puts out a tweet that's like, well, he might be active, but it looks like he's going to be highly limited in this game, and they're going to be very careful with the snap count. Well, Puka Nacua's snap count was basically every play. So I think they might have worked Schefter a little bit to put some subterfuge out there.
Yeah.
And, maybe downplay how big of a role Puka could have.
Which means when the Rams have their next first-round pick, Shefty's going to have it 3 days ahead of everybody else.
Right.
That's just how it works.
A little payback on that.
But for those who missed it earlier, well, that was part of the bit. It's the Vikings scenarios or lack of good fortune.
Yeah.
With the recency of some of the schedule. And how'd you lay it out again? You got Nacua coming back.
Right.
And then it's not Love. What was it?
Right. So week 3, we get Nico Collins on Houston, and then he immediately gets hurt, goes on IR. Packers avoid him. Lions might avoid him next week.
Right.
Packers, week 4, Packers get Jordan Love back in time to play us.
Mm-hmm.
Week 8, Rams get Puka and Cooper back, and the rest of the division had already played the Rams and didn't have to face the both of them together.
That's brilliant.
And week 9, now the Vikings miss Anthony Richardson, which would have been a plus, honestly, Paul.
How about that?
And Chicago got to play against him.
But think about that. I mean, you're missing the 4th overall pick in a draft who runs like the wind, runs through you, and when you make a mistake and he gets away from somebody trying to sack him, which he does a lot, well, then that's when something called Alec Pierce is behind you for 65.
Which could happen.
But see that, in watching back some of their plays and stuff, Anthony's play action off any running back, but specifically Taylor, ain't great. He's just not comfortable with it yet. Doesn't turn his back on the defense. Doesn't hold the ball there long enough. Think Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Flacco, got Cousins, guys who just hold it there, then they pull it out and they go. So the young man has a lot on which to work. That's cool. But just think about that. It's like I said in the beginning. It's legitimate and it's true that a 39-year-old quarterback who cannot run and is in his 17th season gives somebody a better chance to win than a 4th overall pick in the draft who might run for 150 any day. And if you don't bring him down, there's Pierce over the top.
Well, okay, then there's this. The thing that I really think put them over the top on making this decision, which they had been, contemplating all year because Richardson's play was so bad.
Right.
He was, I believe, sitting at 48% completion percent.
44 maybe.
Is it down to 44 now?
Something like that.
I mean, it's staggeringly bad when you really, you can't be below 60% completion rate, and he's at, 44, 46, 48%. It's unbelievably bad. But the thing that really did Anthony Richardson in, Paul, was the tap out.
Yeah.
He had run for, he had like a 30-yard run. He had back-to-back running plays.
Yep.
And he tapped himself out.
Yep.
Paul, Lamar Jackson doesn't tap himself
Yeah.
out. Josh Allen doesn't tap himself out after running up and down the field.
He handled it.
What?
He's not the first of that ever. He's not the first running quarterback who ever has endured a situation like that. All right, I talked to somebody at Vikings practice about it yesterday, and so he ran 3 consecutive times. The last one, I think, was 24 yards. You got Fudamaki holding on to him, so he had to work really hard to get out of that, and he did. And then he ran for a chunk of yardage. Okay, well, then it's the tap out. After the game, he's like, I ain't lying to you. I was tired. I was exhausted.
Good for him for being honest.
Okay, well, that I know for a fact because I was told by somebody who played with a running quarterback in the past that that's not uncommon. But here's how you handle it. Because you have an oblique, okay, and it's been on the injury report. Mm-hmm. Just lay there, and when the official runs over, my oblique. Okay, injury stop.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to come out for a play.
Right. But you were going to do that anyway.
Right. Just lay there.
Yep. Get your wind.
My oblique ain't great.
Right.
Get the wind. Come out. Get more wind.
You're right.
Come back in.
That's the way to handle it.
So because Anthony Richardson didn't know how to handle his business, cool. We could flow Jacko on Sunday night.
Exactly. All right. And he's been so much better, Paul. Mm-hmm. It really isn't that different from what Flacco did in Cleveland last year for Kevin Stefanski, where he walked in and just started reeling off 300-yard games, 3 touchdown games, revitalized that offense. In the 3 games, he started 2 and he's played almost all of another game. Mm-hmm. In those games, Flacco's been very much the same kind of guy, breathing life into a passing offense that had been stone cold dead under Anthony Richardson.
Right, and some of it is similar. I mean, the Browns' offensive line last year at that time was going great guns. Then they had some injuries.
Yep.
Flacco did not have Nick Chubb. Okay, but now Flacco has Jonathan Taylor.
That helps.
But then you had Cooper, along with Njoku, who was on a nice little run. Yep. And now the situation being similar is that actually it's dissimilar because he'll have a better back off which to run play action.
For sure.
It's not something called Dearness Johnson or whatever my man's name is.
Yeah, Jerome Ford.
Right. And the way they use their tight ends is different than Njoku, but Njoku's not interested in blocking. He's not interested in run blocking. Well, that's what Mo Alley Cox does. See Jonathan Taylor at the second level, and now instead of just having Amari Cooper, he has Downs, who you talked about. Pittman's
good. He's a beast.
He's wonderful intermediate. I mean, he has some Mike Evans. When I watch, he just reminds me of Mike Evans how he plays
because he's so big.
Yeah,
so physical,
and a lot of it's in the middle of the field. And he's just right. He just reminds me of Mike Evans. And this Adonai Mitchell, this Texas rookie, is super fast. He's a threat as a kick returner. Not that he's ever going to see the ball, but he's coming together a little bit too.
Yep.
And Alec Pierce is the trick man. You haven't heard from, you know more about this than me. You haven't seen him or heard from him or targeted him in 2.5 hours of real life time. And then all of a sudden they get the right defense. He's super fast and he gets behind you.
Alec Pierce has the highest average distance of throw at about 21 yards. Is his average pass to Alec Pierce.
Well, I think he's 24.6 on the yards per reception, which number one in the NFL.
Yeah, that would not surprise me.
Right.
He's already housed 2 50-yard touchdowns and like a 40. But he catches like one pass a game, 2 passes a game, and they're bombs.
He's now 1035 is the fantasy football feast. Pierce is a conundrum. It's like I and others have had him, dropped him. You try to play that game where you think it's going to be the game against the certain defense,
right?
Then he doesn't get targeted, or he gets targeted twice,
right?
But see that, I think I shouted you out a couple when the Vikings were on bye, because it was an opportunity for me not only to watch a lot of games, but like driving around that Sunday running errands and doing stuff. I love listening to my cohorts call games, and I have access to that via the radio. So, so now I'm listening to, I was going up and down the dial, say the Texans with Vandermeer go to break, Joniak and the Bears, they're at break, Dan Miller and the Lions, they're at break. All right, well, what's next? Oh, it's the Indianapolis Colts. It's your lot in life, and those who play in big money, big stakes, supplemental income, either daily or year-long fantasy. Holy cow with your blood pressure. I mean, because I hear it's like Richardson back. Oh, Alec Pierce is open. Oh, he overthrew him.
Yep.
And that would have been like a 73-yard touchdown. I'm in one league. I'm in this little baby league. Right. Not even that much cash at stake or whatever. And I'm like, damn, how do people do this and watch this every single week?
Heart failure.
Right, heart failure.
Yes, it is.
But Pierce is like, he's one of those guys.
He is one of those guys. And in a guillotine league, disastrously dangerous, because if he doesn't catch the 40-yard bomb, he shows up with a 0-catch game, 1-catch game, and you're chopped.
I have a tease for you for the 1035. The fantasy football feast there is a quarterback with a quite prominent name who I will champion should not be on a roster. And we will get to that a little later. Around the corner, there are, I believe, 9 coaches who have become semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Charch and I will get into that in truncated fashion up to the Fantasy Football Feast. Then Alec Lewis, who covers the Vikings for The Athletic, he'll be here at Buffalo Wild Wings Blaine at about 11 o'clock. It's the Friday Football Feast Nordo produces at the 651 Carpets Plus Studios. And here he is with the money thing.
Indeed, the Fan and 2 men in a junk truck want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. The keyword this hour is bank. Use that at KFAN.com. You might win $1,000 with the keyword bank at KFAN.com.
What in the ham fat is going on with you guys?
Holy Toledo!
Football Feast.
Isn't that something?
Nords.
What up, PA?
Paul Charchian is lost somewhere in the crowd. He might be under a table. So can you give me a quick Vike Bite with a sponsor?
Yeah, are you kidding me? Vike Bites is always brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
Beep.
ThousandHillsLifetimeGraze.com. You can shop online. You can go to your local Coburns locations, local co-ops. They're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletic. How about this? I got some audio. Sam Darnold talking to the media yesterday. He's kind of pumped to have Hawkinson in the mix.
Just being able to, kind of get a couple reps here and there, really over the last week or so, has been cool. But actually being able to play with him, I've seen a ton on tape from the last couple of years, and obviously a really, really good player, very talented in his own right, and just another great piece that we can add to this offense.
So Darnold's super happy to get TJ Hawkinson back and Aaron Jones into this Colts game. He's just kind of noticed how healthy he is, and he's getting a ton of touches, and that's a big part of him in this offense.
Last year I missed time. This year I haven't missed any. Luckily, I haven't been able to miss any time. The bye came at the right time and was able to avoid any missed time. And I'm feeling healthy, feeling good. And I kind of don't look into. I seen it, but I kind of don't look into it because I'm based off of how I feel in my body and the belief I have in myself that I can carry that workload.
So I know, PA, you're going to do a fantasy feast with Charch here and kind of opening the show thinking about potential for great nights from Jefferson and Aaron Jones and Sam Darnold slinging it all over the field. But I'm kind of stuck. I'm super excited to see Hawkinson back and see what that looks like. But I'm thinking, Aaron Jones, can you run a mile on this Colts defense that is begging us to do it?
And it's interesting because in Paul Charchian's Tolstoy, in fairness, FICA Fairness and Colts Act, their first two games, especially one against Green Bay and Josh Jacobs, I mean, they're giving up 1 million yards on the ground, but it has turned around the last six
better
for the Colts, right?
They really have. We've seen some just workhorse backs, teams that have just decided we're running no matter what, and one of them was the Josh Jacobs game. He put up, I think, a 30 carry game against the Colts.
Well, he had like 160 yards in a quarter or something, or in a half.
These big workhorse backs have eventually gotten it done against the Colts, but overall they've been really a pretty good run defense. And then there's the Darisaw part of the equation, Paul. You know, the biggest worry with Darisaw gone is that Sam Darnold's going to get obliterated from his blind side. So maybe this team runs a little bit more. If you're going to ask Cam Robinson to do something, a lot easier schematically to ask Cam to just go mash in a running game than it is for all the nuances of pass blocking.
Well, that's the assumption he's playing.
Yeah.
I mean, because he wasn't eligible to practice until yesterday.
Right.
And he did. I mean, he wasn't on the injury report. He was out there, 74. I saw him. So the assumption is practice yesterday, practice today. That probably will be it. Yeah. I mean, I'd say 90%. He starts and or plays, so continue.
Do you think it's that high for Cam Robinson, 90%?
I think it's 80. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he was out practicing and Hawkinson's back, and I've just talked myself into this thing, even though it may be wrong, that you need a certain type of tackle that you don't have to consistently handcuff or have that tight end next to.
Right.
So, I mean, when you get Hawkinson back, you don't want to use him for half the game next to a tackle. Dealing with Quiddy Pay or whatever.
Correct. So it feels like, we haven't leaned on Aaron Jones in a game in a while.
But the Vikings are 50-50 run pass.
Right, which is
like
why
190 pass, 189 run.
Even last year with Kirk out, this team was still very pass heavy.
Right.
Now, part of it's because Aaron Jones is just good. Right? I mean, he is better than Alexander Madison, so we're running more. We're getting more out of the running game. And I think also, like in last week's game against the Rams, Paul, this team just didn't want to go away from Aaron Jones, even though the productivity wasn't there.
Yeah.
This team wanted Aaron Jones to get his carries, and even at 3 yards a carry, they kept going back to him. And that's sort of a philosophical difference from KOC than what we've seen in seasons past. To conclude the first half of the 9 to noon Friday football feast at Buffalo Wild Wings Blaine, this won't require much time because I didn't look closely at the names. Like I saw Holmgren, I saw Coughlin. Yeah.
I saw a name at the bottom I didn't recognize. I don't know that guy either. I just want you to lay it out and hit me with each name. These are Pro Football HOF, Canton HOF semifinalists, and to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean that's quite the step to even get to this step.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I purposely did not I didn't have the time either, but purposely did not go through. All right, Coughlin's won this many Super Bowls, and Holmgren kept losing here.
Me either.
So let's just ride discernment, and let's just be like, does it feel HOF or not? Go through the list one by one.
Bill Arnsparger, whose name I've heard of, but I don't
Giants
know him.
coach?
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is.
Bill Arnsparger?
Arnsparger?
What the heck took him so long to
that's part of what I feel like he probably doesn't belong, just because if you haven't gotten in yet, I don't know that that's not always.
Yeah.
It took too many Vikings too long to get in, so maybe it's not a good litmus test, but it feels like, shouldn't he already be in? Bill Arnsparger?
Okay.
What do we got?
Pro Football Reference. Now, this is coaching results. 74, 75. He coached 3 years.
That's it?
Yeah, and he was, he was 7-20. I mean, what are we talking about here? It had to.
Is that the right guy? That can't be the right guy.
Bill Arnsparger, yes. William Stephen Arnsparger, born December 15th of 1926 in Kentucky. That's him.
Okay, I don't know what he's doing in this list then. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
All right, was he the Jets coach when the Jets won the Super Bowl? Was that what he did? I don't know.
He was Giants for 3 years.
Giants, not Jets. Okay. Speaking of Giants,
show coaching history.
Speaking of Giants,
it just showed his last three.
Okay. All right.
So Arnsparger, 64, defensive line coach for the Baltimore Colts. Okay. Now, he was a coach, I believe, with the Colts, the Ballyhooed Colts.
Oh.
Where Namath guaranteed the win as a 21-point underdog.
Wow.
And beat him.
Okay. Was he in the Unitas era, maybe?
Yes.
He's back in
Unitas
the 60s?
era. Then he was the defensive coordinator for the no-name defense, the undefeated Miami Dolphins with Larry Little and Nick Bonacani. It was called the no-name defense. He was the defensive coordinator for the 72
So
Dolphins.
wait, is he going to get in as primarily as a coordinator and not as a head coach?
Yeah. Now, is this for the Pro
that's
Football Hall of Fame or like that side piece
No,
thing?
this is the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Okay.
2025.
And then he was a head coach for 3 years for the Giants, had a pitiful record, came back to the Dolphins in 77 as defensive coordinator, and was defensive coordinator all the way through Marino's rookie year. I think that was 83.
Well, now I'm intrigued, Paul, because you feel like defensive.
Well, then he was a defensive coordinator for the San Diego Chargers as part of teams that was identified with offense with Dan Fouts.
Oh, yeah, and those defenses were not good.
He was the head coach of LSU for 84, 85, 86. Who cares? This is a no. Arnsparger's an absolute no.
Yeah, it seems like it. And although I do like the notion of having a great coordinator get in, even if you weren't a great head coach, but I think he's a no. Tom Coughlin.
Yes.
He's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yes.
He's got the long time with the Jaguars.
He endured
the Giants.
He endured wind chill and cold at like minus 20 wind chill at Lambeau Field, where his face looked like it was about ready to blow up. And you know what? He pulled things out of he's the coach. So he pulled things out of Eli Manning and like took O.C. Umenyiora, Michael Strahan, and who's the other beefeater? Justin
Tuck.
Yeah, Tuck. Thank you. And the way they manipulated that thing with the defensive line, Coughlin for me is a mostly yes. What about you?
I'm 3/4 of the way in on Coughlin. You know, not the crazy longevity, but Super Bowls.
Well, he also got the Jags to the playoffs in their first year. So he's with Brunell and Boselli and those guys. And I think it was the first year of Jaguars.
I think it was second, but yes.
Was it second?
I think it was second.
Okay.
And AFC Championship game, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy.
Oh, in the second year?
I think so.
Well, he's HOF.
Mike Holmgren got a Super Bowl in Seattle and a Super Bowl in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Correct? Got Favre to the Super Bowl, got Russ to a Super Bowl.
I say he's a yes because he really, outside of Belichick, was the last one who found a successful way to be the coach and the general manager, the coach and the guy who runs the personnel.
Yeah, which is never a good idea, but he did that there.
I say yes. What about you?
I don't know.
2 Super Bowls, though.
I think 2, right? Didn't he get Seattle to a Super Bowl, or am I crazy on that?
Oh, yeah. No, he won.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Oh, wait. Pete Carroll won it Super Bowl 50, beating Denver.
I might be wrong about that. He might have only had the Favre.
No, he got them to the Ford Field Super Bowl, and they lost.
Okay.
To the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, there we go.
Antoine Randall threw a touchdown pass to Hines Ward.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle. I'm kind of a no.
I'm 50-50 on him. Mm-hmm. How about Chuck Knox, one of 3 ever coaches for the Steelers?
Chuck Knoll.
Oh, that's Knoll. Chuck Knox. Yeah,
Knox was the Rams.
Yeah.
Knox was Vince Ferragamo, and Wendell Tyler and Charles White, Flipper Anderson.
Thank you.
No, John Robinson took over with Flipper. He was Jack Youngblood. He coached the Merlin Olsen, Rosie Greer, Fearsome Foursome bit.
They were good back then. They were really good, and a huge rival for the Vikings. Before my time.
Yeah, a lot of longevity there. At first blush, I don't
think did he go to any Super Bowls? I don't.
Yeah,
think so.
He took Ferragamo to one, and they lost to Bradshaw in Pittsburgh. I think at the Rose Bowl. But I'd be a no on that, but I'd have to look more closely.
Dan Reeves. Reeves got a Super Bowl. He was Atlanta for a long time.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, Denver.
Denver, and I believe he got a Super Bowl win in Denver with Elway. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, they won back-to-back Super Bowls.
With Reeves?
Yeah, I think so. They won 97 and 98.
The Terrell Davis era.
It was back-to-back Terrell Davis era, right.
Elway, yep.
Right.
They had the 3 great receivers, the 3 amigos back then. of which I don't know that I can name any of them anymore.
Ricky Sanders.
Yeah.
Ricky Sanders was one.
Yeah, he was.
Greg Coleman. And
Was McCaffrey on that?
No, it was Greg Coleman who switched to punter. He was such a bad receiver. And I think Anthony Munoz.
Anthony Miller?
No.
No. All right. Are you a yes or no on Dan Reeves?
I'm still wrapped up in this Chuck
Knox?
thing. Is it Knox or
Knox.
no?
We're on Knox,
Okay.
which makes it that much harder. And I'm glad I'm not the only one that confused those two guys.
Good Lord. I am a I don't know. What are you on Reeves?
On Reeves, I'm no.
Oh, geez. Chuck Knox started in 73 with the Rams, and his final year as a head coach was 94. 21. Wow, look at this. Yeah, he's got some luminary to him. 186, 147, and 1. But
say that again.
It's a
186,
147 and 1.
147. I mean, he's barely over 500.
Yeah, he was a 3-time coach of the year.
Wow.
He never won a Super Bowl. I'm out. No, that's an absolute no.
Chuck Knox out. Where were you on Reeves? I'm out.
Reeves out.
Schottenheimer out. I don't think we need to spend
Marty?
Yeah.
Marty Ball?
Yep.
I'm out on Marty Ball.
I'm out on Marty Ball.
We're talking the HOF here.
Right. George Seifert should not be in this conversation. I understand.
Really?
Well, okay, he inherited the Steve Young era.
You can't look at it that way because there have been, with all due respect, there have been many who have inherited wonderful situations and found a way to mess them up. You know what I'm saying?
Our standard here is the Hall of Fame standard, right?
Okay.
So, it seems to me like when you inherit the Steve Young 49ers coming off Super Bowls, you get them another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Then you're gone 2 years later. You go to Carolina, do nothing but lose.
Mm-hmm.
George Seifert's out.
Okay, so would Kevin Seifert be in?
Kevin Seifert in, Hall of Fame. Absolutely true.
All right, let's might as well make this the marathon up to the 42. Hold on, courtesy of FVP Batteries and FVPParts.com. Thank you for the marathon segments. FVP Batteries, Seifert, 89. He went 114 and 62.
That's pretty good.
114 and 60.
How many years was he the
2-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Coach of the Year?
Yeah.
He's in. Yeah, if it was one time and one time.
How many years was he the head coach of the 49ers?
That would be 8 years.
Was it that long?
Final 3 with Carolina. Oh, wow.
The Carolina years were not good.
Yeah, he ends up going 8-8, 7-9. Well, the 1-15 in 2001.
That hurts.
You know what the one was?
Steve Smith.
Right up.
Opening kickoff.
And boom! Welcome to 2001 Minnesota Vikings football. It's in the air. Ooh, Steve Smith coming out 7 yards deep, right side. 5. Hey! What a horrible way to start a season.
The only win of their year.
Well, that was such. I wasn't, calling games or working with the team, but the memories are vivid. It's that right there. The former Cretin-Derham Hall kid at quarterback. It was his only win. Chris Winkie. Yeah, Winkie. Corey Stringer died into the season, and Denny Green got fired right at the end. Tice took over for a Monday Night Football game at Baltimore and eventually kept the job. That was a season of the macabre.
Yeah, that was sometimes. The first game does.
I'm out on Seifert. I'm out on Seifert now that I look at what he got from 88, like you said. Okay, but you still have to win with it. He goes 14-2, 14-2, 10-6, 14-2, 10-6, 13-3, 11-5.
That's a lot of wins right there.
And 12-4 with your Niners. It's a lot of wins.
You're talking me into it right now.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is. It's a creature of habit or a prisoner of the moment society. So, if you remember the last time you saw him, it was 16-32 with Carolina.
I know. That part hurts.
So, hey, George, you want to get to the HOF? Then win more than 16 games over 3 years with a team that does not have Young, Rice, Brent Jones, Roger Craig, and John Taylor.
People feel like, and maybe it's not
Tom Rathman.
All he did was just re-implement the Bill Walsh offense with the great players that the Bill Walsh era brought in.
Yeah.
But maybe that's an unfair assessment of where George Seifert actually was. maybe that is not entirely fair.
Yeah, maybe it's not
All right,
entirely fair.
this next guy is really tricky, Paul.
Wow. Seifert won 20% of his challenges. He should be out of the HOF strictly on that. Gerald Seifert. That doesn't sound like a head coach. It sounds like a math teacher.
It does not. All right, this next guy is going to make things really tricky.
Really?
Mike Shanahan.
Well, I say yes, and here's why. We have Super Bowl winning cred.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Shanahan was the Broncos era. We've got so many things wrong. He was the Broncos era for Davis, right?
Well, Reeves was the head coach in '98 when they won.
Okay,
I believe.
All right, maybe I'm wrong about that.
But see, with like you ever hear, hey, that guy's from the Chuck Knox tree.
Yeah.
Or that guy's from the Bill Arnsbarger tree.
Not a lot.
Or, hey, you know what? What a wonderful, wonderful limb from the Mike Holmgren tree, which I'm sure there is. But all you hear is about the Shanahan tree.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's Mike Shanahan and this offense, and now he's in Washington. And who's he getting in Washington? He gets McVay, he gets LaFleur, he gets O'Connell, he gets whatchamacallit, Kyle Shanahan. You know, and there is a Shanahan tree.
There is 20 years for Mike Shanahan, Paul. Yeah. 20 years.
Oh, you know what?
Denver for
my friend
14.
Chad Oslin, who used to work for the Vikings, he's a football historian. He's been texting the last 8 minutes.
We've gotten so many things wrong.
Well, it doesn't matter. Let's just get set straight. Okay, DP, yeah, we got that on Arnsbarger. We're happy for you, Chad. Holmgren lost Super Bowl at Seattle. Yep, we know that. No to Knox, he says. Reeves never won a Super Bowl. Back-to-back 97-98 was Shanahan. So you're right on that.
Okay, that
100% on Shanahan.
Yep.
Reeves never won a Super Bowl. Oh, Reeves 0-4 in the Super Bowl. He's out.
He's out.
Wow.
Well, Bud got in at 0-4, but Bud should be in.
That's a good point.
Shanahan's in 20 years, a couple of Super Bowls. And by the way, his record, Paul, 308 wins against just 170 losses.
This is great.
That is
so now YA young Alec.
I'm sorry, it's 170 wins, 138 losses.
So now young Alec hits me with a text 2 minutes ago.
Something else we got wrong.
Oh my heavens, I'm going to give it to y'all on Arnsbarger.
All right.
Okay, let's just pause. I'm all flustered. Who's the last name? Chance Stevenson?
Clark Shaughnessy? I have no idea. I've never even heard that name.
Yep, cool. You're listening to the Friday Football Feast, your information, your accuracy and information leader. And when we return, the Fantasy Football Feast is unfurled. Then Alec Lewis of The Athletic joins us top of the hour from Buffalo Wild Wings Blaine on KFAN. I just learned, that like the sports abyss. All right, you used to use that term a lot. In the springish summer months or whatever.
Yep.
Don't use it much anymore. But the potential coaches into the HOF. I mean, topics like that, low hanging fruit as they may be. I mean, they trigger a lot of reaction. I bet you the 64686 blew up back there
I'm getting roasted on Twitter right now.
Well, I haven't even looked at Twitter, but I had Chad Oslin. Okay, he set us straight. Elite Football Mind. Alec Lewis pulled over to send a text that I'm going to roast you guys on something called Arnsbarger.
Yeah.
I've received so many texts on this. It's unbelievable. But Eastsider, the mailman, Johnny Kotishka, he writes, Holmgren, and he's an Elite Football Mind. Holmgren unlocked Favre. Favre was the best player in the league with Holmgren. Favre was not the same quarterback with Mike Sherman and McCarthy. Holmgren was first ballot in Green Bay, but going to Seattle makes it tricky. He will probably eventually get in, but it's not the no-brainer had he stayed with Favre. It's kind of like Joe Mauer.
That sounds fair.
Top 5 catcher all time, no-brain first ballot as a catcher, but the move to first base made a lot of people question if he was HOF worthy. That's very well laid out, Civil Servant.
All right, yeah.
Now the fantasy football feast portion of the equation. I teased earlier the relatively big name that I watched one of his games live. I watched him last night. I've watched him a lot. over his career, and he was the offensive rookie of the year last year. But you for multiple reasons, multiple circumstances, CJ, you can't roster CJ Stroud. You just can't. He should be cut.
Wow.
Really?
Okay.
Go back and look at his game logs.
No, I know. The last 3 weeks have been
3 weeks.
Well, 4.
Well, he never
it's
throws.
the Nico Collins
he
thing,
never
Paul.
throws for more than a touchdown a game. It's like 1 point something. He's not going to run in. He's lost his best 2 receivers. Other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play?
Well, Nico Collins could come back as early as next week.
Great.
I mean, basically, the Nico Collins games, he was good.
Okay.
Take him out, and the whole thing fell apart.
But see, there's a difference between a realistic leader and a fantasy leader.
Yes.
Okay? Where Eli Manning and Flo Jacko during the regular seasons, they were reality leaders. We're going to do enough, find this, this, and this, and watch us when we get to the postseason. Well, that's when they become HOF. Stroud, man, he did a great job last year, okay? But still, it was a lot this year of what you saw last year. He's not a week after week, multiple touchdown passing kind of guy. Never runs for one, never runs, period. And then now he's hamstrung. I'm saying that, I don't think Baker Mayfield's available anymore, but if Bo Nix or Stafford or some other people are available, then I don't really see any reason to have C.J. Stroud on a roster.
The one reason is the return of Nico Collins.
Well, okay, great.
So I mean, he lost his number one. And
the Mixon bit is helping him.
Mixon has been. Paul, this Mixon thing's crazy. He looked so cooked in Cincinnati. Last year he ran for 3.9 yards per carry. The year before he's at 4. He looked lifeless. Watching Joe Mixon run this year, you're not even the same guy.
Right.
What happened?
Right.
How are you better with 1,900 career touches than he looks as good as at any point in his career? The rebirth of Joe Mixon.
I agree.
Unreal. It's a better run blocking line than pass blocking line, and that has also contributed to some of the up and down that we've seen with CJ.
I don't like to turn this into my own personal fantasy team fan line. But so let's just, this is my team, but there are a lot of scenarios like this where I picked up Baker Mayfield a month ago, okay, but I drafted C.J. Stroud 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere around there where everybody else did. Okay, Stroud hasn't played for a month and change for me. I mean, Baker's 20-plus in the GE format every single week, 22-plus.
Right.
Okay, that's Baker Mayfield. Stroud should be playing over Baker Mayfield, who just went for 20 and change without Evans and losing Godwin.
It was crazy.
Okay, so therefore I don't have Nico, I don't have Diggs. Cool. He hasn't had Evans in a month, and he just lost Godwin and found a way to run up big points. And White and super special Bucky Irving, that they're not in Mixon's class.
By the way, this Bucky Irving kid, man, is he good! I wish the Gophers could have been able to save him.
Cool. Well, they have Max Brosmer and Coy Parrish, and that's really all we need.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a roster spot, and you have not Josh Allen or not it's like Jalen Hurts at the top,
right? Jalen Hurts is still a tier 1 guy.
You're tier 1 guys. You don't have one of them. Well, and you're looking to pick up, say, Keon Coleman, who may have been cut, or somebody, who, whatever, how the game works. The keeping 2 quarterbacks and having the second be Stroud is a mistake.
Well, I like what you're saying, and it's defensible, especially in a guillotine league where we're now down to 9 teams left, right?
Yeah.
Very defensible that way. Again, just Stroud is a good quarterback, and if Nico Collins is coming back, I'm interested. Now, Diggs is obviously lost for the year. Tank Dell's a pretty good player.
Right.
I'd like to see him be more consistent than he's been, even without Collins.
So you're telling me Stroud last year would help teams win fantasy football?
Yes.
So he was 22 points or above?
Well, maybe not quite that high, but he was a consistent fantasy producer even last year as a rookie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't happened this year.
No.
And even when he had his receivers. Okay, Bo Nix.
Yeah, Bo Nix.
Top 10 quarterback because of these rushing touchdowns. Top 10 fantasy quarterback.
The top 10. Right now, he's quarterback 9 on the season.
Wow.
And this is after he started out, and it looked disastrously bad through the first few games for him. In the first month, Paul, all Sean Payton gave him, dink, dunk, short stuff,
which
which is what he did in college.
Yeah.
His average pass in September
Yeah.
was 4.5 yards for Bo Nix.
Ooh.
And then it all changed.
Yeah.
Gets into October. The last 4 games for Bo Nix, his average pass is up to 7 yards, which is close to NFL average. And now you get all the running on top of it. Bo Nix can run.
I know.
He's a better runner than I thought.
I
They're giving
know.
him designed runs. which
Anti-Vike might have been right.
That's what I'm getting at.
Damn.
What if it turns out Sean Payton was right? What if he did trick us into moving up in the draft? What if he got the better quarterback?
Well,
I can't live in this world, Paul.
No, I'm not on that because he's an idiot for this reason. You can't get loud about, you know what, we did a little something here and a little something there to get them to give up a pick.
Yeah.
Well, really, we're in the NFC, bro. And we're not on your schedule next year. What do you care about that?
Yeah.
What do you care about hamstringing a team that's not in your division, conference, or on your schedule? That's what we call trying too hard. But FIAVA, Fairness and Anti-Vike Act. He's phenomenal with quarterbacks.
He is.
His relatability to quarterbacks is historically good.
Oh.
And he's doing a good job with Bo Nix.
Yeah, he is doing a good job with Bo Nix.
You guys have showers here? I need a cold one right now. I just said.
I hate to say good things about Sean Payton, and also that defense.
Yeah.
The Denver defense is really good. Paul, this Denver team, I could see a scenario where they find themselves into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And this defense, Patrick Surtain,
All right.
they find a way to knock out the Chiefs or something.
Okay, you're not Alfred Williams, and I'm not Dave Logan. So let's not make this Broncos fan line, and let's get these Fantasy Feast questions out of the way because they're pertinent. You ready?
Ready.
How sustainable is Jameis Winston's service for the calm?
What a phenomenal game that he just had, and I'm so happy for Jameis Winston. 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. What Jameis Winston did in relief of Deshaun Watson is exactly what Joe Flacco did in relief of Deshaun Watson last year.
Yeah.
Flacco's doing the same thing. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns.
And off your Knicks bit, off your Knicks bit, okay, Baltimore might go to the Super Bowl. I don't like them to go to the Super Bowl because I don't think their quarterback can get over the hump in the biggest of big spots, but that's just me. But nevertheless, that pass defense leaves a lot to be desired.
They're like the worst in the league right now.
And now Bo Nix is the one attacking that pass defense.
This week.
Granted, it's on the road, but Bo Nix ain't a bad starter this week. But anyway, Jameis.
So back to Winston.
Yeah.
In this game against the Ravens last week, Paul, he threw 3 interception-worthy passes, of which they came up with none.
Jameis got to be Jameis.
That's right. Jameis is. There's never been a quarterback out there who cares less about the interception totals and is unrattled by interceptions or passes that should be interceptions. Kyle Hamilton dropped a sure interception. It was bad that way.
All you Vikings fans wanted him. Funny.
Now, well, we did. I still want Kyle Hamilton.
And he's pretty good.
He is pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, the coming opponent for Jameis Winston this week is the Chargers. On paper, the Chargers look like an elite pass defense, and they were horrible last year. But they have played all of these terrible quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew, since benched, has been with them. Spencer Rattler last week got benched mid-game. It's been Justin Fields since benched. They have played horrible quarterbacks, so we don't know what entirely we got with Winston.
Yeah.
But the journey is awfully fun, and this Cedric Tillman cat is legit.
Stafford, 4 TD, sadly against us with Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Kyron Williams. Is he an every week starter?
I think he's back as an every week starter now, Paul. The balance of the offense, Sean McVay, as long as Puka and Cooper Kupp are out there, you've got 2 of the best, 12 receivers in the game on the same team. And even though Stafford doesn't help your fantasy team with rushing numbers unless he's playing the Vikings, I think we're looking at Stafford, who's going to be clocking in most weeks is like quarterback 8, quarterback 10, quarterback 12, and you're going to be starting him most weeks.
When we return, Alec Lewis from The Athletic handicaps the Vikings and the Colts for us, also attempts to take us deep on coaches into the Hall of Fame. And we have a fantasy-related question that works beautifully for Mr. Lewis. That will start the final hour of the 9 to noon Friday football feast from Buffalo Wild Wings Blaine. It's PA and Charch feasting on KFAN.